Welcome to another weekly featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact and your host, James Moffat, where he will gracefully take our featured guest on a personal and business journey and stories that will inspire, educate, and engage you.
Hello and welcome to another featured business brought to you by your host, myself, James Moffat, in support of Visibility Impact and our featured business guest. So first of all, before we get going, this is our first guest of the new year. So we are 2023 and our guest is our 109th guest. So happy new year to everybody. And for those watching the replay and can't make it to the live one, then no problem. You can watch this, you can catch up, and there'll be links and everything provided afterwards so you can reach out and connect with the guest and anyone in the audience if you wish as well. So let's get going. So Xhiva, you are our 106th guest, so welcome. And special guest because you are the first one of the new year. And this year, 2023, is going to be a magical year. So anyone that's watching, then hope this resonates with you and it'd be a great show to kick the first one off. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest. So Xhiva, I know it's not easy to pronounce your names because you have many different variations. So we'll go with Xhiva for now because this is kind of your nickname, but maybe you want to say your full name just so the audience know what it is, and then we'll get going.
Yes, hello James, and hello all the audience. My name is Ximena with X, and as artist my name is Xhiva. Yes, that's easier for the audience and for the people to pronounce.
Excellent. Okay, so tell us a little bit about you. So I'm going to take you back on memory lane, back to your childhood, and then we'll catch up to where you are now, the business that you're doing, and basically any memorable experiences that you want to share on that journey. So let's start. So where are you living now, and where are you originally from?
I am living in Switzerland, in Zurich, since almost 7 years. And I am originally from Bolivia, from La Paz.
Right, La Paz is the only part of Bolivia I actually know. So, actually, I had to look on the map earlier to find out exactly the location of Bolivia. And I was actually surprised. I thought you were based on a seaside, so you had the beach, but you don't actually. You're landlocked. You're surrounded by several other countries. So you've got Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and let me look at the other one, and Peru.
Peru, yeah.
Right, but you do have kind of a beach. I mean, you have a huge, I guess it's a lake there.
We have Titicaca Lake, but this is in the mountains. This is 3,700 meters high.
Wow.
3,800, and in the platform of the Sun Island that is in the Titicaca Lake, you arrive to 4,000 meters.
So you didn't live anywhere near there?
You live. I am coming from the Cordillera de los Andes. Yes.
So when you grew up there, I mean, you're living in Zurich now, but I'm just going to take you back to kind of Bolivia and growing up. So you also mentioned that you traveled a lot. So when you traveled, was it within Bolivia or was it outside of Bolivia, and particularly to the neighboring countries?
Well, at the beginning, it was a big journey. When I was 18 years, I was going for first time out of Bolivia, and I went to Monaco. And I live in Monaco, in France, for almost 3 years. I was studying arts there. And then I went back to Bolivia. I was living for a long period. And then I started to travel around I went to Ecuador, I went to Colombia, and then I decided to go to Peru to start a life there with my small daughter with my older daughter when she was small. And then we went to live in Pisac in the Sacred Valley of Cusco for 5 years. After that, I was coming back to Bolivia, and once that I had my second child, the father of my daughter is from Kreuzlingen here in Switzerland, and we were thinking about having a life that was more also in the city for my older child, to give her a balance between country life and city life. And we find opportunities here. He find a job. We find a home that was able to receive us. So we decided to came to try. And this was in 2016.
All
And
right. So not so long then. I mean, so you've been in Switzerland since 2016.
Yes.
All right, but you did experience, I mean, living in Monaco and Peru and other places. I mean, so what languages do you speak, out of curiosity? Because I mean, Monaco is obviously French speaking, and then Switzerland in Zurich is German speaking, or Swiss German, and then I guess Bolivia is Spanish speaking.
Yeah, I speak Spanish, English, French, a little bit Italian, and I'm learning German.
I know what you mean about learning German. I've been here a bit longer than you, and I thought it wasn't going to be so hard, because I thought, well, German is very similar to a lot of English. But little did I know it's Swiss German, and Swiss German is really a challenge. And yeah, I'm still struggling. So my German sucks in general, but Swiss German, I mean, my 3 kids speak it because they were born here and they go to regular school here, but I have no idea what they're talking about. So they have their secret language. So
it's complicated.
So you came here then to Switzerland with your daughters?
Yes.
And what ages were they when they came?
The older was 11 years at the time, and the small one was 3.
Oh, right. Wow. A big difference.
Yeah.
And I guess they're speaking German or Swiss German?
Yeah, the small one speaks perfectly, and the older one is fluid. Yeah, is starting to get more comfortable with Swiss German now. I cannot. For me, it's too complicated. But every time I try to speak in German, or they say, "No, mommy, please no," because I don't speak in the right way as they.
When you speak with your kids in general, do you speak Spanish?
Yeah, we speak in Spanish.
Yeah, I mean, similar to us. I mean, my wife is from Brazil. So the kids speak Brazilian Portuguese with my wife, English with me, and Swiss German with their friends. But they could have 3 different languages, I mean, and speak 3 simultaneously, keeping the conversation going with all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
It is amazing. So, but anyway, let's just go back to Bolivia. So you've got any siblings?
Yes, I have 2 brothers.
Right. Right. And did they travel and move around, or are they still in Bolivia?
They travel for holidays, but they are living in Bolivia mostly of the time.
Right. And what made you leave then? When you said that you went to Monaco, what made you go there?
It was a funny situation because the political problems in my country are always how you say damaging the possibilities to have a good education. No, it was always blockages and social problems, and I was having a boyfriend at the time, and the mother was living in Monaco, and she was proposing us to go to study arts in Monaco. She told us that she will help us to get into the school, and we decided to try it out. And since I was very small, I always wished to travel. And for me, adventure and exploring the world is part of feeling alive. And for me, stability and thinking to stay in one place forever is more like a punishment. I feel trapped. So when that opportunity came, I take it, and my parents were agree with it. So it was the start of my journey.
So did you speak French before you went?
No.
But it wasn't a problem with the language. And what did you do there?
Wow, it was very interesting because I arrived there and I needed to show a painting to see if I will be accepted or not. And they accept me after 2 weeks that I was there. But it was a dramatic experience, and I have so many stories to say. You know, I don't know if it's possible to say everything in one interview. But in that time, the mother of my ex boyfriend, of the boyfriend that I was traveling, she was stealing all our money, well, all my money, and she was throwing us both to the streets. So it was a very dramatic situation. And this happened like a Friday, and Monday we needed to start the school. And my parents, my family were telling me to go back to Bolivia. And I felt, no, I need to go through this. No, I need to get out of this with more power. I cannot just go like a loser, you know. This was my feeling. So I was deciding to find a way, and then I started the school, and it was also very challenging, but it was going. For 1 year I studied there in the art in the école des beaux-arts de Monaco, and after that I meet Ernest Fuchs. And when I meet Ernest Fuchs, he was offering me to be my teacher, to start to be apprenticeship with him. And I started to go to his atelier, and then he was inviting me to go to the chapel of Apocalypsis in Klagenfurt to paint. And this was one of the most amazing experiences I had. And he was really a big artist, you know.
I have a note to say. Past 7 years, I was working with, no, let's say past 4 years or 5, with a company based in Klagenfurt. And I've been to this, but I didn't know that maybe you were involved. I didn't know about you. So it's a lovely place, Klagenfurt.
Have you been in the chapel of the Apocalypsis?
Yes, I've been, because I saw in the description about you, and this I wanted to share that I've been inside. Maybe I just need to look at the photos, whatever was I have. But when I saw in the description that you did it, it's amazing. So the world on Klagenfurt, the first time I heard it, it is like the end of the world. So it's in the middle of nowhere. But it's a beautiful place. It's nice.
the only thing that I knew about Klagenfurt, because it's like a lost village, but it was that is the birthplace of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, he's in the next town, not Klagenfurt, but
Okay.
what's the name? It's another town nearby, but the pistols Glock is produced in Klagenfurt, so this is why they are very famous as well.
Oh.
Schwarzenegger is born in Graz, if I'm not wrong, but it's really like 50 kilometers or something like this.
So then after you finished there, how long were you there for before you went back to Bolivia? And why did you go back to Bolivia and not stay in Europe?
I was almost 3 years there, and my mother had a heart attack in Bolivia, and I was feeling worried about her, and I was thinking to go back to visit her for 3 months or something like this. But when I went there, the situation of the visas changed, and I had my ticket back to passing for Spain, and they didn't accept me to go there without a residence or a permit or a school or an address. So all my plans were ruined, and I needed to stay in Bolivia. This was a bit frustrating for me because I already was starting a life in Europe, but at the same time, I felt that it was necessary for me to also go back to my roots and kind of nourish deeper all the knowledge from the culture that I come from. And yeah, that happened. That's why.
Okay, so then in Bolivia, I mean, just going back into kind of your childhood and things that excited you and that you grew up with. I mean, typically, what type of kid were you? I mean, were you an adventurous kid? Did you like the outdoors and sports and activities? What things were you interested in as a child?
I was always interested in the mystery. Everything that was mysterious was attracting me a lot. And I was attracted for sacred symbology, and I was very sensitive, and I'm still, but I was already making some interpretation of symbols or codes, and archaeology is something that inspires me a lot. All the sacred temples, all the codes and scriptures that you find in the ancient art is something that inspired me a lot. And I was always inspired also by the tribes. I felt their knowledge, through the cosmovision they have, and the knowledge of like reclaiming all the wisdom for their own how I would say, for their own self-development,
Yeah.
And like religion, culture, science, architecture, and everything is one philosophy, but it's not a dogmatic religion. It's more a respect for life.
So at what age did you kind of feel there was a need, or you started to understand kind of different religions, different symbols, the meanings of them, and to explore kind of archaeology a bit more? I mean, was there a certain point or age in your life or a certain event that triggered that off and you thought, yeah, I want to know more, this interests me?
I used to have very vivid dreams of codes and monoliths and stones, and with the time, when I was 9 years old, something like this. It was the first time I went to Tiwanaku, and Tiwanaku is one of the pre-Inca temples that is also in the Altiplano in La Paz. And the first time I was going there, I was getting into a kind of trance state. I felt a deep nostalgia inside of me, and at the same time, kind of pain and sorrow, and it was like a feeling of death. And I started to cry, and I was very young, and I just felt a lot of information of that space. And that was triggering something, because it was like my soul could reconnect with something there. And from there, all this, like, let's say, this internal reality that I had, I couldn't share with so many people. It was more like my perceptions, my feelings, and slowly I started to investigate a little bit more. When I was reading something and it was having some symbology, then I was recognizing. And then slowly, when I saw some documentaries and they were showing some pyramids or some codes from Egypt or from India or from Mexico, I felt I dream about it, and it was a very strong awakening, let's say,
So it sounds like you had a very much a spiritual awakening from a very young age, and things started to make sense, or maybe they didn't make sense, but you wanted to understand what they were. And when you see symbols and archaeology and basically what was the numbers especially, and what's the meaning behind them, and I mean, a lot of people are kind of waking up now to that. So I mean, to have that experience at such a young age is basically a sign. I mean, a sign of a path that you were to lead on your journey. So in doing that at school, I mean, because when you are touched by something that's very emotional, whether it's a good emotion or a bad one, and at a young age, maybe other kids don't recognize that and they don't feel the same. And then did you feel as a child you were different and you had a different perspective on life? Or did you kind of push that to one side and carry on as a regular kid with your friends?
It's something that is still present in my life, because I feel that this type of sensitivity puts you very easily in a state of vulnerability. And people can be very abusive with that, from your closest circle to distant circle. People sometimes see that as a weakness or a way to take advantage. And this was experiences I had when I was a child, having, let's say, people joking about the way I was, or trying to take advantage. This was kind of my life story. I had a lot of situations with people trying to take advantage. And I feel that just because you are a sensitive person, this doesn't mean that you cannot put borders or that you cannot say no, or also, to send someone away from your life because it's healthy. That's also important. So it's a balance, no? And I feel this was difficult when I was a child, and I need to learn how to live with this sensitivity. And this was taking many years of different experiences that were teaching me how to sustain my energy, how to process some emotions, how to differentiate when some energies were coming from another people or an event in the streets or wherever that suddenly was completely affecting my field and my emotions, no, and my thoughts or my dreams. So then I learned to kind of discharge from all these external influences, and but this was like a personal process, and yeah.
So growing up then, feeling quite sensitive to your surroundings and particularly places that you'd go to, and how were your parents towards that? I mean, did they understand what you're going through? Was it something similar for them? Or, and also your siblings, I mean, your brothers, I mean, were they sensitive to this, or were you kind of the odd one out in the family that, well, it's kind of just you and don't be so sensitive, and kind of, this is what parents normally say, oh yeah, you're too sensitive to things, like stop worrying and just get on with your life, and you're thinking, well, actually this is really a significant part of my life, I need to understand it.
Yeah, this was a challenge because not much people in my family could understand this, you know. And when I was sharing these things, sometimes they were thinking I was a bit crazy, you know, because I was telling them that I saw spirits, or that something was happening in my room, you know. And slowly, in the beginning, they were denying all these all these words that I was sharing with them. But with the time, my brother, I remember my older brother was sleeping in my room one night, and then in the next day he was completely afraid, and he said something is going on in that room, you know. And then many other things happened, like I always felt that it was some spirits visiting in my room, and sometimes I needed to kind of scream to put them away, you know. And my father, my mother were coming, and they didn't understand what happened. But it was till one day the radio was starting to go up and down with the volume, and my parents came, like thinking that I was joking or doing something, and I was in the bed and the radio was far from me, and this was happening. And then they realized that it was true what I say, and they bring a priest to bless the house, to clean the space, you know. But this was not doing so much because I still felt the spirits there. And it was till my uncle died when I was a child, and my uncle for a while was sleeping also in my bed. He was staying with me. He was very close to me, and I think he was the only one who really believed what I was saying. He was the only one who tell me, I believe in you, mi tío Manuel. And
Yeah.
when he died, and I felt the spirit in my room, I was calling my uncle. And when I called my uncle, I could feel these both energies like in interaction, and suddenly this one that was provoking me or not gentle with me was going away and never came back, you know. So then I started to connect with the spirit of my uncle, and I felt that it was possible to connect like this with the spirits, and that sometimes they were more close than the people that you have around.
No, I can imagine that. And did you find that, I mean, because you probably had lots of questions and you had no one to turn to for the answers, and it's not until maybe you're older in life that you've got more experience, you've read more, you've met more people, and similarly like-minded, or people that have had similar experiences, then you can start discussing things with them, and they get it, they understand because they've had a similar experience. So did you find that you needed any guidance? I mean, did you find a guide or a coach or someone that had been there or could offer you some sort of answers to the questions that you had? Or did you kind of find out the hard way by doing it yourself and joining different groups? Or how, I mean, how did you develop that? Because otherwise, I'm sure that there's people that have kind of gone insane because they're hearing voices, they're having vivid dreams, things are happening, and they really don't understand what it is. And then because of that, they kind of go the opposite end. They feel they're going mad when maybe they're not really mad. It's just that they've never had anyone to talk to.
You know, in some moments I was feeling very confused because I had no guidance at all. And but then I met a circle of shamans and curanderos, and then I saw that they were starting to heal with energy, and I could see the energies that were going in and out, and there I was started to communicate with some of them, and we could speak the same language. And with them, I was able to finally being able to share my truth without being judged or without someone labeling me as crazy. And they were really giving me understanding, and even I learned from some of them. But it is a very personal process, because I feel that also with this sensitivity in the, let's say, in the shamanic circles, not everybody has the same way of perceiving things. Some can perceive more with visions, some can perceive more, I don't know, with their bodies, or but the most connection I received was with the medicines. I feel that the medicines were giving me a lot of keys that were making sense to me, that were kind of ordering all these different layers of perception to understand all this just as a human experience, And with the medicines, I mean the plants, I was working with San Pedro, that is like a peyote, when I was 17, and this was a moment where I felt very vulnerable, and I wanted to finish my life. But when I was taking this medicine, I could feel like the layer of illusion going away, and perceiving the nature and the elements much more clear. And then I felt, okay, this has sense, And the people that was with me, they could also perceive the same reality. And then I felt, it's real. It's not an illusion. It's not an idea or an imagination. Everything is alive. Everything has a spirit. But it's just that we sometimes forgot to see beyond these veils to connect with the essence of what is surrounding us.
I agree. And I guess you get a deeper connection, consciousness connection with the environment that you're in, particularly with nature and animals. And I just want to kind of move forward a bit to kind of what you're doing now. But before I just got just some questions. First of all, your daughters, how do they feel? I mean, growing up with a mother that was not the traditional mother, not that I'm saying a traditional mother is the right mother, but someone that feels the way that you do. I mean, are they similar to you, or they don't think about it?
And thank you for asking that. It's interesting, because for a long time I was alone with my older daughter. I was single mother all her life, and she was with me in many circles, ceremonies, everything. The small one didn't share all this as much as the older. Uma is her name, but she's now anti-hippies, She doesn't want anything to do with that spiritual circles. She's done with that, because also we saw a lot of hypocrisy and not so much respect and ethics, you know, in different situations. So she's pretty much resistant to all what that means. And she has a personality that is very let's say kind of dark and punk. She's more attracted to all that, but at the same time she has a very fine perception, and whenever she wants, she goes into that, and she has a lot of gifts in that sense, but she just leave it by side. I feel the small one is pure heart. She's so lovely, you know, and she's very sensitive too. And I feel that she has also a lot of potential to develop gifts. But what makes me a bit sad is that the influence of the society and the way the children are developing at the moment can disconnect them from their own soul, from their own spirit, to be more like I don't know, like repeating what the others do, no? And I feel this is kind of normal in all social systems. The children try to repeat to be accepted, no? Even the grown repeat everything that the masses do to be accepted. So I think it's a question of attitude, but also to awake that seed inside of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we could do a whole show on children's perspective on life. And I mean, I've got 3 kids that are at school, and yeah, there's a lot of discussions about the education, and I don't see it's changed at all since my grandparents were at school.
Yeah,
they definitely don't learn the things that you should be learning, but that's another story. So, and a great show to have and bring on a panel and discuss education at school. But anyway, so just looking back, also it got me thinking, I mean, about dreams in particular. I mean, I've had lots of vivid dreams, and in the past, particularly as a child, I'd no idea what they meant and just dismissed them. And then they would recur, and I'd have to dream again, and then I'd dismiss it again. I just thinking I've eaten too much cheese, or been up too late, or something that's caused me to have these strange dreams. But it's only more recently, particularly in the last 3 years, that I've started to understand what the dreams actually mean, and they've become more frequent and with messages. So we have actually a previous guest is a dream decipherer, and a great lady. And so there is an interview about her, and she tells you what dreams actually mean. And also we had a guest just recently talking about microdosing and using mushrooms. And this is a great story, because she suffered from seizures in the way that as a child, her parents thought that she had epilepsy, but it turned out it wasn't epilepsy. It's just that she had random seizures and was on medication, and the medication didn't stop it from happening. It just kind of relieved some of the problem. And then someone told her about mushrooms, and then she started doing microdosing with mushrooms. I mean, otherwise known as magic mushrooms, I guess, because they're natural, but completely natural, and it cured her problems. So when you mentioned about the plants and everything, there is so much, everything is there. Everything was created for us to use, and is natural. Everything that's all natural is good for you. Anything that's manufactured and made is typically bad for you, but it makes money. You can't make money selling some vegetables and some herbs and plants and whatever, because there's no big money in that, right? And not just that, if that cures you, you wouldn't need to keep taking medication. So that's how she got into it, and it worked for her. And now I'm a strong believer in everything natural, and connecting back with nature. But anyway, so let's move on, because we want to learn more about what you're doing now, and how is life in Zurich, and your business. I mean, you started a business, and what is it that you actually do, and what are the many things you mentioned? You go to ceremonies and things. I mean, what type of ceremonies? What do you do there? You also mentioned about art, and so is this all connected? Is it all different, or is it all part of the same journey that you're on with your own life?
Yes, it's part of the same journey. You know, when I was 17 years old, I decided to study art. And at the same time, I was starting my journey with the shamanism and my own search of healing, let's say, and understanding also all the sensitivity that I was telling you before. So with the years, you know, I was working with San Pedro for many years, and also with ayahuasca. I started with San Pedro when I was 17, and with ayahuasca when I was 21. And I was part of different circles, and I was learning there a lot of like developing my skills, let's say, in these spiritual worlds, and my vision, and also like fine-tuning my perception to understand when it was the mind that wanted to lead and when it was channeling, you know, to don't get mad, as you say, you know. You need to kind of train this perception to be able to identify the noises and the presence, you know. And with all these experiences I had, I will resume a little bit and add this as an introduction also for what I do, because I feel it's important. But when I was here in 2016, I was losing the sensation in one leg, and my prognosis was to stay tetraplegic. And when this happened, they find out that I had a cavernoma in the spinal cord, exactly behind my heart. And the day they make the surgery, it was the birthday of my older daughter. She was getting 12 years. And it was the first year we were away from our family, from Bolivia. And the father of my small daughter is not the father of her. So it was a very difficult situation for me. And after that, he was going with another woman. And then suddenly I was with this prognosis of staying quadriplegic, with 2 children, abandoned in a hospital without any support or friends, you know. And the only thing that was holding myself together was the spirit, you know. And in that process, I couldn't count of taking ayahuasca or San Pedro, nothing, because I was in such a vulnerable state. But I was starting to apply energetic work within myself, no? And I feel, as you say, all this that is in nature is to serve us. But at the same time, all this information that is in the nature is inside of us. We don't need to always take something, you know. We can really connect with that source of information to bring that information into our awareness, no? Like people talk now about mindfulness or epigenetics or neuroplasticity and all these things. We are able to work with our senses and with our awareness to talk with our bodies, to communicate the connections, the frequencies, the healing, the codes that we need in different parts of our bodies, no? And what I feel is the most important is to see the healing as a holistic way. You are not just healing the physical body. If the physical body is sick, it's because something happened in the emotional body, or in the mental body, or in the spiritual body, or something in your surrounding is in disharmony. Sometimes you are not loyal to yourself, and this was what was happening to me. I was living in a situation where I was feeling abused, and I was kind of letting that happen, and suddenly my leg didn't function anymore. This was a big sign for me to really show me that I was not standing in my feet, and I was not standing in my truth. It was a very radical way to see that, to then feel this rebirth, and going through all this process. But I feel that it's very important to integrate all these different tools and information also in a very subtle way. What I offer is therapies of healing. Well, here we say therapies. In Peru, in Bolivia, I was using more healing therapies, but here is more therapy, transformational therapy, I say, because what I am doing since many years is offering to my clients sessions with crystals, and I work with the frequencies of the crystals to identify the blockages, where they are and where they come from. Then I can see also if it has more a mental influence or an emotional influence or a physical influence. And with that, we can start to work with it. So I work in this way in a holistic view, from a very subtle way to the manifestation. This is what I do as therapist. I was a company. I don't know how you say it, but I was working with my art at the same time that I was developing all these processes and also having my own personal experiences. So mostly of my art is also my soul journey, my self journey, and that's why it's connected. And with that, I feel that the music, the celebration, the enjoyment, the ways of sharing in community to awake the joy, to awake the tribe is very important for me. So I feel that dancing is a way of connecting also with the people and with joy. And other thing that I do since more than 13 years is the ceremonies, sweat lodge ceremonies. And this is a medicine that is like a native sauna with 4 elements, where we heat the stones in the fire, and they represent like the semen and the seeds at the same time, and they go to fertilize the womb of Mother Earth, where we are going all in surrendering to our own processes. And there we work with the physical body, also emotional body, mental body, and spiritual body in a process of sweating, prayer, singing, and releasing this heaviness that the cycles can bring. It's a symbolic ritual of transition, of cycles. And this was also supporting me very much in all this period of healing, self-healing.
So you've been very much on a transformational journey from the age of 9, if not younger. And little did you know at the time, you'd be guided, like an inner guidance that would be steering you on your journey. And you talk about your crystal work. So this is more the shamanic work, I guess.
Yes, well, we can say that, no? I feel that a lot of people think that shamanic is just when you take plants and you have some psychedelic experience. But it is shamans that work with water, with crystals, with stones, with incenses, no? And I feel the connection very strong with crystals since I was a child. So yes, I work with
so
that.
you work, yeah, sorry, you work with any particular crystal?
I have a collection of many crystals, and depending of the client that I have, I ask the crystals which ones wants to work with the person, and with that they show me much more the character or the personality of or what this client needs.
Yeah. I say that because I work with a crystal as well, but a crystal pendant. And I can ask it absolutely anything, and I always get 100% the right answer, which is scary sometimes, because when you ask something that you don't want it to be that and it tells you it is, then yeah. And yeah,
I have crystals, but I also work with crystals as jewelry, no? And I have cycles that I use one or another, but the crystals become like friends.
They do.
They have character.
But I have a story to tell about how I selected my crystal. So I just quickly digress a little bit. So I'd seen a friend had one, and when he was telling me about it and what it can do and the answers that you can get, I thought, I've got to have one. So he told me about this shop in Switzerland. So I went there, and it's kind of a Druids type of shop, right? Like you go in there, it's like a Harry Potter place. But anyway, inside a glass cabinet, there was all of these crystal pendants hanging down with the chakras on them as well, right? And there's like 30 hanging down in a glass cabinet, so you couldn't touch them, right? You had to ask the guy in the shop to open it up, who happens to be some wizard, right? So he said to me, would you like one? I said, yes. And he said, which one? I said, I don't know yet. So I said, I need some time to think about it. So I'm standing there, and I'm saying in my mind to the crystals, I was saying that I want to select one of you is to come home with me, but it can only be one that wants to come home with me. Exactly. So I asked, and I said, I won't want to move, an indication of movement, right? And only one, and then I know it wants to come with me. So I'm looking there at this glass cabinet, everything is perfectly still, right? And then all of a sudden, one starts to move and is like exactly what you said. It starts to spin around, and I'm thinking, shit, right? It's actually working, right? So anyway, it all settled again, and then I thought, no, I'm rubbing my eyes and think, no, this can't be real. And then I asked again, and exactly this, only that one started moving again. I thought, bloody hell, right? I've got to have that one, right? So I said to the guys, he said, have you picked one? I said, yes, I'll have that one there. And he said, not this fancy one. And no, not that fancy one, not that big one or that one. It's got to be that one, right? So I picked it, and then I held it in my hand, and I asked again. And I said, like, now holding it perfectly still, I said, do you really want to come with me? Show me a movement. And it started to spin around. I thought,
yes,
that's the one. And then anyway, then I had no idea about crystals. I had to learn how to like clean it first, because it's been touched by so many people. It has to bond with you, although there was already a bond there. And then you have to, if it's not already charged, you have to charge it. I mean, not plugging it into the electric, but I mean, it's typically with a full moon or something, but you can ask it, right? So I asked, and it said it didn't need it. It was already empowered, ready to go, and it got its energy from me. And basically, you learn so much from working with a crystal, because it's your connection with source, whether you call source the creator, God, or whatever. It is your direct connection. Some people don't need it at all. but others need some sort of tool or aid to enable that. And you can do it in different ways, but for me, that was the way that I do it, and it's magical. And
It is.
and then when you do it with other people and they see the results, and I mean, I've got many stories, but it's not about me today, it's about you, but we can share these stories later. But yeah, I mean, I love kind of shamanic work. Now, whether it's with crystals or otherwise, it should be something taught at school, because it's really magical.
It is, and it's so important. I feel, the crystals teach me everything I know,
Mm-hmm.
and also the nature teach me. You were asking me if I have guidance. The plants were teaching me. The animals teach me more in the spirit world. The animals that were showing, and the crystals are amazing tools, really. And with the processes that I had in the beginning, when I started to do my healing therapies, I thought that maybe the people will react the same, and not at all. Every session is completely different, and it's like you open up a door for the crystals, and to channel the information the person needs to receive. I'm there just to transmit what is going on with the crystals, because I connect with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just gets me thinking about previous guests as well. We have a great community of previous guests that I think will resonate a lot with this, and they do similar things or complementary things. And I mean, people that want to reconnect back with who they really are,
Mm-hmm.
and connect back with the kind of the hidden wisdom that we're not subjected to at school. And we either learn the hard way ourselves, or we can have a guide that steers us in the right direction. But I mean, all the answers to everything are already inside us. We just don't know how to tap into them. And that's why you need someone to help you on that journey. But anyway, so tell us, you talked about art as well. And I've seen some of your work that you've done, but have you got anything there you can show us?
Yes, I have. I will show you. This, for example,
Wow.
is a paint. It's still in process.
Excellent.
It's a vision I had
So
some years ago.
when you do a
work
painting,
with the color.
all right, but when you do them, are you thinking, is this something in your head and then you just start drawing or painting, or is it, how does it come about?
Mostly it is like this. It's like I have a vision, and then I start to try to transmit it into the canvas.
Mm-hmm. And typically, how long would it take you to paint one of these?
All depends of the painting. Yeah, and sometimes it takes 1 month. If it's an aquarelle, I can do it in a couple of days or so.
Wow.
But with this acrylic, I work with a technique that is pretty slow, let's say.
You mean you paint with your foot or something?
Sorry?
You paint with a foot?
With acrylic? No,
you don't use you said it's something different. I was going to say you're a painter using your foot to paint.
No.
Oh.
But it can take taking sometimes years,
So
because motherhood and everything, I couldn't just dedicate completely to painting. So I would like to have more time to dedicate to art, to be honest.
But you were an artist as a kid.
Yes, I was like I always like to make handcrafts and create things, you know, clothes for my toys, or do manual things. So my way of distracting was going to my box of materials and do my things, you know.
Okay. Now, just a question. When you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be an artist. Um, the first desire, I wanted to go to the moon.
The moon. Right.
But then
You're not the first guest to actually say that. And Boyan, he's disappeared now. And Boyan actually went to Cape Canaveral because he wanted to be an astronaut and he wanted to go to the moon. But we've had a great guest talking about the secret space program and going to the moon, and lots of things about NASA. I mean, lots of things are not true, right? But anyway, that's another story. But so why in particular did you want to go to the moon?
I don't know, because I thought it must be amazing to be in the space.
There's lots of stories.
Stars, you know, and I felt when you see these videos of the NASA satellites that are traveling in the time and space. For me, this is super inspiring. I would love to be there.
Maybe it's because you've been already.
Yeah.
Right.
We all are from there.
Because normally when you've got a feeling for a place, you've either been there in a dream or you've been there in a previous time. And that's why you're attracted to it. So, Boyan, you missed it.
What did I miss?
What? Yeah, I was asking, what would she like to be when she grew up?
Me?
No, not you. Our wonderful guest. Right. And
Magician.
no, Xhiva actually said that she wanted to go to the moon.
Yeah, but my desire was to be an artist, to be independent, to be able to travel the world and do my thing wherever I go.
Yeah, you mentioned about travel. You wanted to travel when you were younger, and you felt that, particularly you mentioned also trying to go to Spain and they wouldn't let you in, and other places. I mean, we are effectively free spirits. We should be allowed to travel anywhere.
Yeah.
Period. Right? I mean, it's only man-made rules that restrict us from doing the things that is a God-given right, that we should be explorers. I mean, the world is a beautiful place to explore, and you can't go because you come from that country or you're that religion or you're a woman or it's just utter rubbish. We should be able to go where we want.
For territory and for culture and all these ideas and beliefs of separation that at the end are not working for our own benefit, no? In this, I would like to also invite this idea to be shared, you know, that this was when I was starting also this motivation of being an artist. I had a vision of a community of artists, and as you say, you know, everybody has this essence, has this potential, and mostly of our societies and the systems are always suppressing what make us feel alive. And a lot of people is just working as robots, losing their time, feeling depressed and not seeing sense in their lives. And I feel that we need to go back into this idea of awakening our soul nature and fulfill that mission, you know. In that way, I feel that it was always challenging, all the path I did in my life, and many times I felt completely lonely in the journey. But I feel now with more strength to start to develop a community with all the people who is independent artists that want to show their art, that want to grow in supporting each other. The idea is also to create spaces of exchange and interaction of different types of art, where we can grow, where we can evolve, where we can have different new tools, learn from each other, at the same time that supporting and holding space for us together, no? And I feel that here in Switzerland is a very difficult society to find opportunities. So it was a lot of years trying to find ways to show my art, or to do some static dance, or to do some DJ events, or to do different things, and I had no chance, you know. And finally now it's starting, and now I want to invite all the independent artists to join this project. The project is called Revolucionarte, and the idea is to awake our soul, art, our gifts, and to communicate together our language, our creativity.
Yeah, I love it. And basically this is what we're building also with Featured Business. And it's about people, typically solopreneur business owners, that want to grow and be recognized and also be part of a community. And whether it's to do with well-being, quality of life, natural products, sustainability, or anything that's to do with something that is good, then we want to bring these people together, hear their story, but also so they can join in and hear other people's stories. And then we can then help promote them with their own events. So say you wanted to do an art event or something about your other work, then we'll create the event for you and help bring in the audience. And that's the idea.
That's amazing. That's amazing, James, because I feel that it's more and more important to create these webs of interaction and visibility and support for all these entrepreneurs, because everybody is following their dream. And this is the way we are feeling alive, you know. I am sharing one first event 20 January in Kraftwerk in Zurich, and I have already some live bands that are invited. One is from Colombia, Papaya Tropical. Another is from Mexico, Barfus Collective. We have a performance with a woman that is from Colombia. I will be sharing some DJ sets and some audiovisual art and projections. And we're going to have also live drums and a lot of creativity, face painting, dancing, and enjoyment. So this is the first event.
No, I love it. I mean, we had two guests from Colombia, actually. Very interesting. To the recordings are here, that you can find out more about them. But I mean, it is great because there's a lot of people that aren't physically in the same location or even in the same country, but they want to be part of a community because they feel they resonate with the people, the same mindset, and they're open to want to learn and to understand about kind of new ways and things they never knew before. So we want to create that kind of that platform in the way that it's going to enable it. Because the biggest problem with people, particularly if you're a business owner and you're on your own, is you feel alone. You feel that you have to do everything yourself. And when you have hard times, sometimes you want to give up and try to look for the corporate world to go back to. And that's really not the place you want to be. You've kind of left that once. but you're on a road that is bumpy, and for every startup or business owner, it's not plain sailing. It's full of good moments and a lot of the time bad moments that if you're on your own, it's a scary place to be. And that's why you kind of need the guidance and help and support from a community that are doing the same thing. I mean, doing the same thing as in trying to grow their business. So this is what we want to help with, because it's so frustrating when you're losing hope. And then when you lose hope, then you're on a downward spiral. But if you get the people here to help motivate you and pick you up and inspire you and maybe educate you on the things that you didn't know, then it just makes life a lot easier, because you're around people that care.
Yeah.
And become trustworthy, and then you can trust in these people that they're here not to exploit you, but to actually serve you and help you. And that's the essence of what we're trying to achieve.
That's something completely new, Mostly of the people who try to get involved in a project is sometimes people who wants to, as a friend was telling me, like surf your board, But I feel we need to do the opposite to really support our projects, And I feel that this was costing me a lot, and it's not for being individualistic or nothing like this, but I was fighting a lot to be where I am now, and with 2 children here in Switzerland alone is not an easy journey. And I feel it's time now to feel more safe, to feel connected. That's why I am like building all these webs and giving all this energy I give since 2016 to the ceremonies and to the therapies and to the festivals and events, because I want to be able to create a small community, a small tribe of people who I can feel connection, because it's not easy to make friends here. And in that way, this project is also, when I was having this vision, I dreamed it as a worldwide project, So it's amazing what you are saying. The idea is to really connect with people from all over the globe, all artists, all people who is inspired and who has something to share. Can be science, can be lectures, can be storytelling, can be arts, can be therapies, everything that supports us to be better humans and to find ways to connect and not to disconnect are welcome, And in that way, I feel that our responsibility as people who has this opportunity to express and to be connected, and sometimes somehow to be in a kind of safe space in our lives, we can support then the others, and start to create some circular economy and think about the communities, the natives that has the wisdom from the ayahuasca, for example, the communities that are holding the wisdom from the peyote, and slowly to connect these dots of all these people and give them space, give them visibility, give them honor to their wisdom, and bring them again up into this way, into this web that now is a bit distorted for the system, and is some people on top of the others, and I feel we need to integrate again, and the only way is through soul connection.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think moving into this year is going to be a lot of revelations coming out, and a lot of truths and things that we thought were the truth was actually a lie, and people are going to start losing faith and start losing hope, And this is what we want to bring together. It doesn't mean that you need to have a business to be able to feel part of a community. And it's also important to rediscover who you really are, because 99% of the population have no idea who they are. And if you don't know who you are, then you're just meandering through life as an existence rather than living a meaningful, purpose-driven, passionate, desired life, and not easy to achieve. So yeah, that's why we're trying to bring these communities together and have them as a guest, because selling your services and your business is one thing, but understanding the person behind the business is something completely different. And that is the connection, that's the magic that we want to create. Now that we know about you personally, it's easier to want to work with you. If you were just trying to sell me kind of some magical things you do, I'd think, well, why would I go with you and not someone else? But now that you shared your story, I feel that emotional connection and the reasons why you do it. So anyway, just to, we're going to kind of wrap up in a minute. So tell us kind of what programs that you offer or services that you offer. How do we get in touch with you? And how do you deliver these? Are they one-to-one? Are they in groups? Are they physical or remote, or a combination?
Okay. And to start, I offer the individual therapies, transformational therapies with crystals. This can be a one-on-one session, presential or online. Then the second thing I offer is a sweat lodge ceremony. This is a group ceremony, and I try to do it once a month or sometimes every 2 months, depends of the possibilities. But I try to do it at least once a month. And this is presential in Horgen. Normally I make my ceremonies. Then I offer also, I want to start to offer group workshops with art transformation, also like with a shamanic journey, and work with the creativity and colors to explore your subconscious and transform emotions through the process of painting. And then I offer, I'm not putting that in my website at the moment, but I do some like cleansings and spaces, you know, and sometimes when people have somebody who was passing and they feel an attachment or something that was not resolved, so we can work with that connection with the spirit to release and to forgive and to let go, you know, in peace and harmony. This is something also I do that is not in the website because maybe it's difficult to explain. And I'm offering also now these events. I'm starting to do the events, and I am producing this project of Revolucionarte. In the events, I'm DJ, so I am enjoying a little bit there. And I have my paintings, my original paintings, and I offer also soul portraits. And the soul portraits are also like a one-on-one interview to talk to you, to connect, to have also like a shamanic journey together, where we both start to express and channel some information to create an art piece that is going to be unique for you. And depending of the frame or the size you want, I can create it for you. This is what I offer. My website is
yeah, I've just put the links in there.
Oh,
but
okay.
I mean, I put a few links in there to share. Facebook one, and the art and a blog. I mean, you've got a blog one which I found excellent.
A blog? I don't know where.
You have to click on the link. I found it and I've added it in there.
You know, the thing is that during this year that I was traveling, I was sometimes creating some links, some blogs, but I then didn't have access to some of them because I was creating with some friends. But at the moment, I'm using just the page that is 𝙬𝙧𝙖𝙙𝙬.
Yeah, I've got that one. I'll put that one in.
Yeah, this is the website where I am more updated and working now.
You should check out your own blog. I find it excellent.
I will see which one you mean.
So anyway, yeah, we kind of gotta close now, but it's been an absolute pleasure having you as our 109th guest and our first one of 2023.
Thank you, James. We make it finally. Thank you.
And oh yeah, just for your information, the 14 of the previous guests that are going to be in our first edition book. So we are creating a book of basically their stories that they want to share. And it's a collection of 14 of us. And we're busy doing that at the moment. And we're all meeting up in Lausanne on the Sunday, the 29th of January. So if you want to come, I can send you the details. I mean, you don't have to be in the book. It's just about people, particularly the ones in Switzerland, and Boyan's coming over as well. Yeah. So it's just a way to meet up, because I've never met Boyan. I've never met most of my guests because they're from all over the world. So at least the ones that are going to be, or not all of them, but some of them that are going to be in the book, and others that are going to come and join. So if you want, I'll send you the details, and then you can decide if you want to come and join us.
Yes, that will be lovely. I can see if I can make it.
All right. Anyway, have you got anything left? Okay. Have you got anything that you want to leave us with? Any final comments?
My final comments. My final comments will be to really go to your heart, to your essence, to remember when you were a child, what was passionate, what was awakening the passion on you, what was making you feel motivated or joy, and then reconnect with yourself now and feel that. Ask the same. Feel your heart and ask the same. Update who you are now. Sometimes we are not passionate about the same things, but we need to update. We need to give our souls the space to communicate within ourselves, to be able to find out what we need in the moment. I feel this is a very important task that we have to be able to manage the life in this reality. Always go in the silence and ask yourself, what makes you happy now? What do you need now?
A beautiful message to finish with. So thank you very much. Thank you for being a wonderful guest. And as I said, this is recorded, so it'll go out to the wider audience, and you'll get a copy, and you can use it as memorabilia or however you wish. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, our audience. If it's your first time, then feel free to join others. The events will be on the website every week. We've got some great lineup of some other wonderful guests coming. And yeah, Xhiva, thank you very much for being a fantastic guest. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend.
Thanks for the opportunity. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Wow, that was another featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact. If you'd like to be our next featured guest or learn how James Moffat can help you leverage on the art and power of interactive storytelling for your business, reach out and schedule a call now.